This video is made for adult collectors because, hey, check this out. I got the entirety of Blue Team for like 20 bucks each. These are the Mattel figures. I love the Mattel figures.
I really wish we got more passenger planes slash cargo jets as like alt modes for Transformers and other like transforming robots, because this is a really cool concept, except I don't understand this. However, just like most metal Cardbots, this goes nowhere. It would have been really cool if this clipped on as like a piece of cargo that would clip onto the bottom, or like, I don't know, if you could mount it on top and have it be like a giant gun that you like. I do not like that these don't go anywhere, but this is still really cool.
I like Onyx Prime. He's not perfect, but I still like having him. Solus is so precariously balanced on top of him right now, so I'm not taking him off the shelf, but yeah, he's cool. However, enter this thing, and now I'm looking at Onyx and going, maybe if Onyx was a bit cheaper, because this cost me $40 Canadian, though I had to go all the way to China to get it. But we start as a plane, because plane, I don't know, I like the plane. It's a really cool looking airplane. It's like a passenger cargo style thing. It looks neat, save for the VTOLs on the wings. I don't understand why those are there. They're a bit strange. This thing is also massive. It's a really big plane, and it's hefty too. I can't believe this only cost me 40 bucks. I love the white and black color scheme with how the black is on the top only and it leads into the white underbelly. It kind of reminds me of a penguin a bit. It's pretty clean underneath too, with only the chest plate hanging out the bottom and looking a bit weird, but it has enough ground clearance because of the landing gear. I do dig the red stripe and the green cockpit. The eyes are a bit on the subtle side here because of how small the cockpit windows are. So if you don't like the eyes, you don't really notice them that much. Oh, and I was torn between he or she for this because the wiki says he, but this post from the director of the show says female executive. So I don't know. I'm inclined to just follow what the director says. Even the voice actor is female. Either way, I like this plane mode. Again, the massive brick, as mentioned earlier, has nowhere to go, but that's kind of normal at this point. I also just love the way it sits on the ground. From a lower angle, it really looks like a real airplane on a runway. Now, the transformation of this thing is super easy and straightforward, but still kind of fun and satisfying to do. Normally when I write scripts, right, I'll write about one mode, and then when I go to do the transformation, I'll just write down show transformation in the script, because it's a marker for me to know when I'm editing, because I edit with the script open. And I wrote shoe instead of show. So it says shoe transformation.
So yeah, this is not hard. Like most metal Cardbot figures, this is not hard to do. It does require one bit of parts forming, and that's just to get the weapon out of here. So I'm okay with that. It's not like Taki where you have to take these side panels off. They do become armor, but they could also have been on a hinge as well. Like, it's not like that. I still really like this thing, and you should buy one. But the only bit of parts forming here is this. That's the sword slash bow and arrow bow thing. It just comes out the back. That's the only bit of parts forming. The rest of it, you fold the wings up. These wings, by the way, they are packed separately. They are annoying to get plugged in, but you can take them off still. I had to do that to bring it back because I had to throw this in the suitcase like this, but it's just this giant sort of mushroom peg that goes into here and stays there. Once you get those swivels, you just bend the wings back one click. They are now going to be a bit floppy, but they do hold in enough unless you give it a real big shake. Then you want to do the legs. Now there are these little grabby bits here for you to pull on to get the legs out, but I feel you're gonna rip your nails out rather than pulling the legs out because this is a really strong connection. So the way I do it is you grab it by the tail and you pull, and that unclips. So you see they're C-clipped into place. That gets that out. Then you straighten that out and you fold down the feet. Then you want to unpeg the legs and bring them out a click each and rotate them at the thigh swivel 180 degrees. Then you want to bring this section around and bring it down. Now this side has the clip and this side has the bar and this side has the clip. So the side that has the clip, there's this like cavity cut into the leg. So you want to line this up so that you can get this sitting properly in there, and then you sort of straighten the knee out to allow for the foot to sit straight. You do that on this side, but this side is the divot, but it doesn't have the thing. So you just sort of have to eyeball it and make sure you line it up properly with the other side, which I did there, but now it doesn't lock in. I'll talk about that later. With the upper body, you want to fold the hip skirts out, and they're going to just sit down there on the side. Fold up the landing gear, take the nose cone. There are two little grabby bits here that you pull on. You bring that down and you accordion it up. It doesn't lock in here, but it does lock in here. It does peg into two little slots there. And then once you have that done, you split the arms, rotate the shoulders down, bring the arms down. Do that on both sides like that. I'm just gonna bend the elbows, open the chest up, and then you fold out the head and then close the chest plate up. And that's it. That is Sky Gallop in her robot mode. Very easy transformation to do. I just wish this This one's fine. It doesn't move. This one I wish had a place to lock in. Otherwise, that's a pretty fun thing to do back and forth. I do like transforming this thing.
This is a large brick of a robot. I do like the way she looks though. With the jet being all round and smooth, turning into this pointy and angular robot, it's neat how the two modes change their general shape and styles, and still a large figure. Like, this thing is huge and heavy. She stays together pretty well with nothing wanting to flop around on account of everything being on ratchets, save for these bits on the lower legs. Specifically on this one side. It moves around a lot, and I wish that it clipped in or something. Oh, and I should state this is the Chinese version, not the Korean one. I don't know if there are any differences between the two, but just so that you know if you notice any differences between the two. Head sculpt is pretty sweet with lots of pointy, cool fin details, and I like the gold accents on the back of the ears. She can also hold the tail fin as a bow or a sword. I kind of use it in the sword configuration in the bipedal robot mode. However, this thing isn't the most articulated. It's pre-talkie, so while there is a lot in the way of articulation, it's still missing some things, and then there's some sculpt bits that get in the way, meaning she isn't as dynamic as I would like it to be, and it kind of really plays into the Centaur mode a bit more too, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, so she has the basics in terms of posing, but there's a lot of limitations, whoa, especially in the hip area, which kind of make it, you know, all she can really do is this and look somewhat dynamic. So the head is on a ball joint, and again, in traditional metal Cardbot style, that ball joint is going into the torso, not into the head. So you do get a little bit of tilt, like not a lot, but there is a little bit there. You do get a full rotation, though the collar does get in the way, so I wouldn't advise doing that. The shoulders, they are ratcheted. They can do a full 360. They bump into the wings. However, the wings can move out of the way, so you can get that full 360. The shoulders, they can go out at the transformation hinge, which is not as strong as the ratchet in... Okay, not as strong as the ratchet in the shoulder, but there is a ratchet in the shoulder, and then, you know, you can do that. There is a bicep rotation, which is also ratcheted. Single jointed elbow that's ratcheted that goes a little bit more than 90 degrees. There's nothing at the wrist because they're just sort of set in here. They don't rotate. But yeah, the wings, they can flap. You can also rotate them down if you want like a pseudo Dreadwing style look going there, but I personally like them up like this. There is no waist joint. It doesn't rotate due to all of this stuff at the back and how the brick plugs in the other mode. The hips, they can go forward that far. They can't go back. They can go out that far, but when you have the hips up forward like this, they only go out that far, because the landing gear bumps into this waist section. The hip skirts do move out of the way, but that's all you're gonna get out because of the sculpt. So a lot of the sculpt around in the hips makes it hard for her to do anything dynamic. You do have a thigh swivel. You get that much of a bend at the knee, not a lot. If you want, you can unpeg that, and then you can incorporate this bend too, but then you have this just hanging out here. And then the feet, they can go forward. There's no ankle tilt, there's no backward motion, there's no rotation down there. Not the most posable thing in the world. The arms and the head and stuff, they're really well done. It's from the waist down that she can't do much.
So the brick, it becomes more legs. So you can do the whole Onyx Prime thing by folding down the back legs on this box and then folding out the tail and pegging it into the back of the figure. I do wish more of the regular robot changed along with this. I think that's where Onyx wins in this regard, is that he looks different in Centaur and in robot mode, whereas this is just robot with Centaur on the back. But it's still cool. Whoa. Wow, my voice died. But it's still cool. I'm loving the fantasy vibe it gives off. Having gotten into fantasy anime and Lord of the Rings and other fantasy things recently, this still does hit the spot for me. I do wish it could do more, like the SR-71 Centaur that they just came out with. That can do a hell of a lot more than this, and I kind of really want that thing. But this is still pretty neat. Don't know if I'll display her like this or not, because this does take up a lot of room. But in the end, I am super happy with having this. It's a ton of fun, and it's just really cool to look at. If you're into this sort of plain or big chunky robot thing, then this I would say is a must get. It feels like Cybertron Jetfire. That's like the transformer it reminds me of a lot, is Cybertron Jetfire. So if you like that figure, then you'll like this one. But that's been my look at Metal Cardbot Sky Gallop. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.